Good morning. How are you, everyone?
Morning. Happy Sunday.
Yes, we're gonna get this show started. We have our brother in, the producer.
See, he's in the house.
Brother Bobby, and we wanted to have this discussion about the movie When They See Us, but more specifically the Central Park Five, the young men who are now adult men who were a part of that. Hey, baby, Clint came in. Hey, Jessica, my girl is in. Thank you guys for watching us. I'm a little down this morning. I got a little family call this morning, so I'm trying to keep myself in the right spirits. And then, of course, we would have a heavy show when I have a heavy morning.
Yes.
But, bless the Lord. He is real. He is faithful. I'm going to look down just to get this show shared on our pages, and then we'll get started with this discussion. Like and share on your pages as well so we can get this conversation going. Jessica, I miss you, and I'm ready to start walking again with you. So, one of the things that prompted us to start talking about this show, this movie, of course, it's a part of our history, our experience, and it's still happening. But as I was reading the posts and stuff on Facebook, there were so many people just breaking down, and I even read this story, the headlines. I didn't read the whole story about how watching something like this is like a horror movie for African American people.
It is.
And I had to admit, I put it off for days. I was gonna watch it, like, oh, my son texted me. He was like, "Mom, have you seen it?" I'm like, I'm all ready to see it, but after those posts, I really did get fearful. I really got to the point that I didn't want that in my spirit. Matter of fact, Clinton and I were about to watch it. He was like, "Nah, it's too late at night. I don't want to have it. I don't want to go to bed." Like what you were
like
saying.
A scary
Jason,
movie.
Friday the 13th. Like, I don't want to go to bed with it on my head, my mind. And he's had his own experiences with that as a youth. So, and I was hoping he'll be able to come and share that. And maybe we'll be able to do that another time. But So, and I put it off for days and days and days. And 11 minutes in, I was like, "Oh, I can't do this." Even and then I found myself last night texting my sons, like, if you ever get detained by police, don't say a word, ask for an attorney.
Yes.
Thinking I had already given them all their what not to do's, and here's another what not to do that I had to add to the list of things. Look, boys, because I have 3 black boys, and I'm like, look, and 5 black boys,
I could not even imagine. I got one girl, and I just could not even. I told him my ovaries have dissolved. Like, I just couldn't even, as much as I want a son, like, I couldn't imagine having to have those kind of conversations, just to talk about it, what to do, what not to do. And when do you start? Like, so early. Like, it's almost like you're robbing their childhood to make them anticipate or be prepared for these injustices that could happen any day of your life.
And you never stop. My oldest is 23, and I'm texting him, "Don't say a word. Ask for an attorney. Don't say a word." Not that this is his everyday experience, but the fear hit my heart so strong that it could be his experience. I want to get a few people in it. I want to get Brother Bobby to get into this discussion. I got Kim watching from Chicago. That's my mom. Hey, Mom, love you. Lala, love Lala. Rosalind's in, Latrevia's in, Katina Coleman's in. So thank you guys. Good morning. And I wanted to bring this up before we jump into this. This was one of the first stories that hit my heart. I wrote a little notes on it because I want to make sure I was accurate. George Stinney Jr. So this is not something that this happened in 1944. I mean, he was 14 years old, and he was executed for allegedly raping and killing. I don't even think he killed 2 little white girls, 11 and 8 years old. And all he did was, they asked him a question. He said, "I don't know." They kept kept riding by on their bicycles. But someone stated that he was the last one to see them alive. And I think his trial was all of some hours. And he was convicted in 10 minutes. And he was sent to the electric chair. He was so small that they had to prop him up in order to get him to be able to fit into the electric chair mechanisms. And 70 years later, he's just exonerated. 70 years later, that his family had to fight for that because they wanted to give a pardon. The family was like, "No, pardon means we're apologizing." We want a full exoneration for him. And so 70 years later, so here we are in the time where we know it's deep Jim Crow, where something like that happened. Then you pull it back up, 1989. And still stuff like that's happening. I have notes for stuff that's still happening in 2019. Yeah. You want to jump in there, Brother Bobby?
Yeah, one of the things that's different about this is you asked when do you start having the conversation. I always had the conversation with my boys when they started driving, right? Because that's the most opportune time for them to have an interface with police. Well, none of these kids were driving.
None.
You know, they were all just walking, just being kids. That's it. And they're pulled into this context of now I have to defend myself against the brutal system of the blue.
Yeah.
So in those areas, you have to have that conversation a whole lot earlier, just because the opportunities for them to interface with police is that much more prevalent. Now, to bring it back into today, one of the things that's happening more and more across the country is SROs are being put on campuses in high school. So now you have to have that conversation, because that SRO, he's a police officer. You know, so high school, middle school, you having to have that conversation again, because we've seen video over and over and over again of black children being absolutely abused by SRO.
Yeah. And then that brings us to this other point, and I with so much, this is such a complex and important issue. And I know that we can't unpack it in 30 minutes, but it brings us back to that other point of black kids, black and brown children being seen as more aggressive, more seen as adults. Black young ladies seen as more because of the mouthiness. Oh, they're adult, they're grown, they're and we even perpetuate some of that in our community, calling our, and I know it's innocent, but we got to think about these things. Little man, my little man, my little man,
little mama.
And then calling girls, you so fast, all these things we perpetuate in our community, in our way of speaking to our children, but that still doesn't justify the way they're seen by other people as more aggressive, more adult, you know, and not seen as the children they are. We've seen this injustice and of course this movie is just scratching the surface of what really happened. But if you just want to go by the movie's sake, how they were seen as animals, and those are code words for other things, thugs and all those kind of things, and then not seen as children deserving of parents being present. Same thing with George Stinney, parents not being present, not having any attorney representation, being manipulated, being coerced, being beaten to get these confessions out of them. And I got Aletha coming in, and we got a lot of saying I have to build myself up to watch this. Yeah, all of us building. I'm still not finished with it. So just that whole notion that it was a case a few years ago, a white police officer, and I don't want to keep just using race, but it is what it is. A white police officer came and saw some kids breaking up a party, and the kids that were walking away from the pool party didn't have anything to do with the incident. They were just moving away from the pool party, and then he comes in, and I'm literally watching this guy running in the crowd, flipping over like RoboCop, and then he takes a little 14, 15-year-old black girl with the frame of a little bitty 14, 15-year-old black girl.
85 pounds.
Yes, and he slams her to the ground, puts his knee on her back, and holds her there. Wow.
And then pulls his gun out for everyone else to stay back.
Who were trying to just say, hey, she wasn't doing anything, nothing wrong. She had some words with the guy. But he twists her arm, flips her down, and puts his knee on her back. So just being seen, how are you able to view her like that, to be so aggressive with her like that?
So, Equal Justice Initiative had this conversation. It's kind of like Tech Talks that they have on site there in Montgomery, and they had educators and people in the psychology and education field, and they talked about how black girls are seen to be 2 to 3 years older than white girls, and black boys are seen to be 3 to 5 years older than white boys. And they did a test where they had these preschoolers playing, and they watched the eye movement of these teachers. They just did a facial recognition where they're watching the eye movement. They said that the attention of the observers went to the black boy 60% more than any other student.
Wow.
And one of the things that I fear as a parent is my kids are all big. They got the 3 Bs, they're big black boys. Black boys are more likely to be suspended from preschool than any other demographic for the same behavior. from preschool.
Yeah.
So it's psychologically ingrained in people to have an outlook, even on young innocence.
Yeah.
And you trend that out to the fact that they become adults, and now that stigma just doesn't leave.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So a 14-year-old is looked at like he's 20.
Yeah, easily. Yeah, wow. And I just want to give us a little bit, because just to say a little bit about the young men we're talking about. Kevin Richardson, he was 14 years old at the time of the incident. He served 6 years. He's now an advocate for criminal justice. Antoine McRae, he was 15 years old, served 6 years of the sentence. Raymond Santana, he was 14 years old. He served 6 years of the sentence. And a little bit about him, it was his tweet that inspired Ava to do the movie. Corey Wise, he was the only one who was tried as an adult. He was 16 years old, and he served 12 years in Rikers adult prison, the same Rikers that drove Khalif Browder crazy after 2 years of being there, to the point where he committed suicide. Now, this young man at 16 served 12 years with adults, and 4 of those years he was just going into manhood. And if the depiction on the movie is correct, he didn't have the mental. I don't want to say he was not mentally able to do that, but he was a 16-year-old boy that had some intellectual deficits. And then we have Yusef Salam, 15 years old, served 6 years. Now he's a poet and public speaker. So you're looking at 14, and just what you were saying about the demographic that you were talking about, 14 and 15-year-old being seen as grown men. And being able to do such a heinous act, and the parents are saying, my kid don't even talk to girls yet. No innocence being seen. Whereas, and I hate to make it about race, but it is. That's I hate to make it about race, but then you have a white male who will come in and shoot up a school, kill his peers. And he's being seen as, he has mental health needs and we need to get him help. Now, they are getting to the point where they now will try, and I'm not saying I want that to be the other extreme either, but I'm just saying the difference in how they're perceived, even with these very heinous crimes, but you're still able to see and I'm going to use this term, the grace of this is a kid. But you can't see that with an African-American child, that this is a child, and even give them a proper, fair trial.
Right. You look at the black man who shot up the police in Dallas a few years ago. They used a bomb robot to kill him. Wow. They went in and dropped a bomb in there to kill him. He's not afforded an opportunity to his 4th through 8th Amendment rights, where he gets arrested and goes to trial and gets sentenced and gets a just and fair sentence. You look at the difference with Dylan Roof, and he gets taken to Burger King.
Lunch, and he gets
he gets his just and fair trial. He's sentenced to death, but through the main maintenance of all of his civic rights, he gets that just and fair sentence. The system is not designed to afford us that. Not on a consistent basis. I'm a person that has been both personally and my mother has been unjustly done by the system. And it mattered not that she had 2 children at home. That didn't matter. The system worked to beautiful perfection against us.
I was just reading an article about how crime has gone down, but yet the prison population remains the same or has increased. So there's a way to make sure that people. That's what the point of poverty is a criminal offense in our country. Just being poor, not being able to afford lawyers, not being able to afford bail, not having fair representation, even the community rallying around. You can cause you to sit in jail 2-3 years just waiting for a trial. And then we know our prison system, and I'm gonna go a little bit deeper on my social work side of it. Our prison system is not the kind of prison system you can sit down and wait and go through your process, get your meals, and prison is not supposed to be lovely, but it's not supposed to be what it is either. But our prison system, you could be there waiting just to get trial and get sexually assaulted, get brutally, aggressively beaten down. And then the psychological things that happen in there between the prisoners and through the people, through the prison guards. So you come out in a worse state than you were just awaiting trial.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying something, and I even believe that people, and this is, you may fight me on this, but I believe if you're going there to serve your time, that does not mean you should be sexually assaulted. You should be, the two don't have to go together.
No matter what crime you commit.
No matter what crime you commit. And so, you just going in just to get your fair trial, your day of justice, and yet you come out psychologically more messed up than when you went in, even if you're proven innocent. 3 years to get proven innocent, 2 years, 3 years to get proven innocent, and you have to go through certain things just to survive. And then we think, okay, put this person back out in society. It's okay now. I want to get a couple of people in. We got Shamika coming in, Lakia's in. Hey everybody, Debbie's in. Debbie is a mom of black boys, and she's asked me some pertinent questions. I want to give Debbie more understanding information. I love her and her husband because they will ask questions. Debbie and her husband Chris, they will ask questions. They want to do the best for their black boys. Yes. You know, they're raising black boys, and they're raising black boys with a different kind of situation because they are not also African American, but those are their babies, those are their kids. So I love the fact that they reach out to people and try to get information. So I'm glad Debbie is watching. Brittany's watching with us. Danielle's watching. Hey, Tashina's watching. Shakira's watching, and Jonathan, my cousin, is watching. So thank you. And Aletha came in too. So thank you everyone for coming in. And so yeah, it's so we have this situation of our young people going in just to await trial, and they're coming out with these other scars they can't just run back into the community and talk about. I know a friend personally, and I won't even start to tell the story because too many people who know me know the story, but changed his life just going in to serve what was supposed to be your few years of time, you know.
We have a mental health crisis in America. Now here's what is really telling. The largest mental health facility in America is Cook County Prison. Yeah. And it's just a local prison. But it's the largest mental health facility in America. So you take people who are innocent, who just can't afford bail,
right,
and send them into a mental health facility to deal with the pains and ills of people that can't function in society without treatment and medication.
Right.
And you unleash these innocent people, young people, a lot of times, into these facilities. Yeah. And that's why we have to understand the full lay of the land and start getting with these organizations that are working against these systems, trying to put better things in place in order to segregate these cases, in order to get a good bail system that functions right, rather than punishes the poor. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of things that are happening that I'm glad they're happening. We just got to get the word out a lot better.
And educate each other as we go through these processes, because you know one day it may not be you and it's the neighbor, and you know, God forbid, you know, 2 years later, you could be in that very same situation. Yeah. So knowing what to do, knowing your rights, knowing who to talk to, educating our children even as much, knowing that when you're driving in a car, there are certain things a police officer has a right to do and not do. And there are certain things you have a right to do and not do. That is so, I just believe that's so important, because with knowledge is power. Yeah. You know, they say that a lot. Knowledge is power, and without that, we fail each other. We fail our children.
As you guys are just sitting here talking, I'm just thinking about, like you were saying, young people who are going into the facilities. like I think about my boys. I can't help but think about my boys. My boys don't know jack about jack when it comes to street savvy stuff. They just don't, you know. That mean they probably learn a little bit more. We talk about that Chi-Town. I'm Chi-Town. My kids are Brunswick.
Okay.
You know, I mean, my kids are by no means.
You just visited a lot.
Right, and I'm Chi-Town, and I don't want to. If that bar clink on me, you gonna hear all kind of crying and all kind of breaking down. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just thinking about, like, you don't know the system, and then you're trying to navigate the system. I'm trying to think if I was in a class or something. I know I've heard the story, but I can't. I'm sorry, I teach stuff so much I can't remember. But I just either I heard the story or I read the story about a young man who used to smear feces on himself so he can keep the other young men from violating him. So he had to do that on purpose. So I don't know if I seen that in a movie or I read it in an article, but there's some truths out there that happen. There's some realities that out there that happen to people who you take the average young kid out there. I don't care where they come from. They don't know how to navigate that system. They don't know how to go in there and survive and protect themselves. Right. I personally knew a kid who kept calling his aunt to make sure money was on his books. That was the only thing keeping the guys off of him. And I know the guys had still gotten to him, even though, so that was to keep him off, not to continue whatever they were doing. Right. So they scared him enough. I mean, when I saw his before and after, when I saw his mugshot, I used to work with the young man. You could see the trauma on his face. You could see the change. This handsome man, nice hair, they shaved him bald. I mean, you can see the change in what just a few weeks in prison had done to this. And this guy had he robbed someone, being stupid. The guy had $1 in his wallet. He gave the guy the wallet back and the $1 and just said I was being dumb. And he still got 7 years. And when I met with him, he didn't think he was going to get those 7 years. He thought he was going, I got time served. They charged him with 7 years. Wow. And then he had to keep asking, please put money on my books. And the person who called me, his family member was like, I don't know what to do. You got to help him. I don't have the money, but I know why he needs the money.
Right.
I know why I got to keep putting money on his books.
And a lot of times these people come from impoverished circumstance, so they don't have the resources available
already
in order to keep money on the books.
Yeah. And I want to talk about a couple of more cases, and we before we end out. And this one, Lionel Tate. I don't know if you guys remember Lionel Tate. He was 13 years old and he was doing wrestling matches with a 16-year-old little girl. I mean, a 6-year-old little girl, and he killed her. Now Lionel Tate. Now, he was a young boy, but why I want to highlight his case and why it hit my heart so terribly is that he was 13 years old and he was sent to adult prison. 13 years old. He wasn't even sent to juvie. He wasn't, because he really lacked understanding.
I was just gonna say
what he was doing. He seen wrestling moves. He didn't know that this was going to kill the little girl. And maybe if he was more aggressive, like you said, he was a big kid. He was a stout kid, so he was seen as this aggressor. But 13-year-old, you can still be dumb and be 13. Like, my boys have done some dumb stuff, jumping off roof, dumb stuff. Kids are impulsive, and he was sent to prison with adults at 13. So by the time he was released at 18, yes, the transformation had already happened, and then he ended up getting sent back to prison for violating parole. I think they gave him 30 additional years. So just these are the kind of cases that have broken my heart over the years, because again, and I think Brother Bobby is big on this, and if you check our page, I put some posts about all these different prison reform programs and sites. Like the pages, get involved, because one thing we are not is proactive. Right. We are so reactive. And I just really believe if we get proactive and get inside these families and homes and situations before these things happen, then we can make a significant difference. Kim Hunter said family support is important because they will railroad you. Yes. And then you see the breaking down in the family, different reasons why families can't be a part of things. They don't have the money, they don't have the resources, they don't have the information, they don't have the knowledge. They get these court-appointed lawyers who are just trying to push the system, push the cases through the system. They have hundreds of cases and can't remember names. It's just so much going. It's just so many things that stacked against families in these scenarios.
Yeah, one of the problems with the adjudication system is the fact that they're overworked. There's so many cases that they have to riddle through, and why is that? Because we have so many laws. Every time something happens, we create another law for somebody to break. When a lot of these things don't even need to be adjudicated. They need to be citations. They need to be, okay, you need to just not do that anymore, or we just need to take that law off the books. You know, so we're seeing a lot of those types of reforms now. One of the groups that I absolutely love is Gideon Project, and they help resource public defenders across the country. They are really good with that, making sure that they're staffed, making sure that they have the understanding of new case law in order to help them with their cases. It's really good for helping the impoverished, because when you watch the movie, you see how poverty interfaces with the criminal justice system, and it generally always loses.
Yeah. And that's a nice segue into this one. And I'm not saying that Albert is impoverished, but it's definitely an issue of race and definitely an issue of different circumstances. Albert N. Wilson, and one of the things, he's been on my heart because he's serving 12 years. He's a former University of Kansas student, and he was convicted of rape. His side of the story is that, and it's some video surveillance that kind of contradicts the side of the story of the young lady. Now, I don't know what happened in that room, but I still think about the contrast between him serving 12 years and Brock Turner serving 3 months. And Brock Turner was actually seen raping the young lady that he raped. So I'm not going to come on here and say, okay, that maybe whatever Albert in his circumstances, that he should be completely exonerated. I don't know. They both have different stories about what happened. But what I will say is this first time felon or convicted person, college student, should not be serving 12 years when there's no DNA evidence that they even ever had intercourse. His side of the story is that they did do sexual acts, and it was consensual, but there's no DNA evidence stating that he actually penetrated sexual intercourse. And then her side of the story is that, of course, it was rape, but there are surveillance showing her leave the bar with him, 5 minutes later go back to the bar with him. So the story doesn't add up, and yet this young man is serving 12 years in prison. So I'm thinking about Satoya Brown, how the media, how our social media pushed for awareness and attention to her case. So I'm like, I was thinking in like showers where I do my praying and meditation, but like, God, how can we intervene? Let's not ignore this boy's name. Who do we write? Who do we rally so he can get some attention back to his case, that he don't sit there and lose his life and serve those 12 years? Because in Brock Turner's case, the judge said, well, he has a life ahead of him. So why can't Albert have a life ahead of him?
And Albert's case was adjudicated after the swell of the Me Too movement. Part of the swell of the Me Too movement, the Brock Turner case. So that's part of the toxicity of these movements, is that we forget history. We forget that Emmett Till lost his life because of he whistled at a white woman.
Yeah, supposedly.
And that was sexual harassment. So now we pull that into today, and that sexual harassment is at high alert, and somebody's going to pay. We use the exact same tactics to lynch people. Now we just throw them into the system. And we have to educate ourselves. We got to rally. We got to understand the laws. We got to understand these advocacy groups. We've got to get people connected. We've got to let these stories be known. And because at the end of the day, we are still a minority in this country. We're still less than 13% of this country. You know, however, we still feel 40% of the prison population. So we've got to understand and know that we're at a disadvantage. That's why it's important to know who your allies are, who's lining up with you. I say again, I don't need friends. I need co-conspirators. I need people that are going to help push for social reform that brings dignity to all people.
Right. I think the last statistic I read was 1 in 3 African American males would interface with the justice system. 1 in 3. 1 in 3. So 1 in 3, okay?
1 in 3.
You know, will interface in some way in their lifetime with the justice system. So that is, and I'm not talking about like a ticket. I'm talking about somehow they have to go through some part of the process of the justice system, and that is staggering. That is.
There's 6 men in my family, and 2 of us have already been through the process.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
And so this is the kind of things that, you know, and I hate that it is about race, but it is race. It's like I pray. I said this before. I pray we get to the point where we don't have a time to kill everything. Now imagine if they were white, you know? Because would you? But when you think about that, and hey, Angela's in, Sandra's in. Hey, Angela, Angela actually talked about her experience and watching it with her daughter, and how her daughter was like, you know, fiery upset about what was happening. So we're not saying that there are not allies on all sides that understand that this is an injustice. So that's definitely not the point that we're making. But we do have that conversation. But that would not have happened to 5 white boys walking through Central Park. No, that would not have happened.
And we have to understand all dynamics of this. Vincent Chin in Detroit in the mid '80s, during the height of what they called in the auto industry the Japanese invasion. Vincent Chin wasn't even Japanese.
I remember that. I read the story.
Lost his life in a fight with 2 white men who served no time for killing him. And then you have Latasha Harlins, who has an interface with a Korean woman in South Central Los Angeles.
Is it the one who shot her?
She shot her over orange juice in the back of the head, and she serves no time. So there are layers. There's a hierarchy in relation. So we got to understand that we've got to pull together against the system. There's an us against them. But it ain't white against black. It's us against the system. We've got to understand that it's we the people. All that's the people.
Good. I was going to say the common denominator is you're human, I'm human. You hurt, I hurt. And I think we just lose sight of that. You know, we categorize people and I guess put people in statistics, and we miss that. That's a human. That's a child. That's somebody's brother. That's somebody's son. That's somebody's mother. And that's the common denominator between all of us. You know, like I said, you know, again, at any given time, it could be someone in your household. It could be someone you know. It could be someone you don't know. But the thing that should pull us back is that it's a human.
And you said something, Brother Bobby, that I was trying to piggyback on it, but it was a while ago. But your point was that someone has to pay. And so I just bring it back to us with us in social media. How many times have I read about a story, and it's still in the phase of they're investigating people. They need to kill them. They need to put them on their rock. They need to run them over. We're so harsh in our assessment of what's happening. And so we drive these stories. We drive the system to get somebody. Somebody has to pay for this crime. And then it makes, I'll say that it doesn't make them, but it is a pressure, a political pressure, that causes people to be railroaded through this system. So next time you want to get those fingers and they need to put them under the jail, they need to kill this person. Think about that, because people are that has energy, that has synergy, and that's fueling somebody's little boy or somebody's little girl being pushed through this system without proper representation in a fair trial. So we come on the other end of it, of our empathy, of our try to gain understanding, try to keep awareness to these situations instead of just spouting out our little 2 seconds of rage, and we don't even really know what's going on.
So look at the jury that's adjudicating in the adjudication process of the Central Park 5. They hear that rhetoric.
Yes.
And the woman has obviously been violated. They present her before the court. There's a crime that has been committed.
Yes.
So they get pulled into that same swell. We have to be more diligent to compose ourselves, to say everyone is due right to exist. Everyone. No matter what they've done, they are due right to exist. And in America, they have their 4th through 8th Amendment rights. So we have to we don't have to believe in the system. We've got to correct the system by our actions.
Yeah. I want to get these comments. Virginia Breland comes in. She says, don't forget about the dream I had about you and your sweet family playing music in McIntosh Court, Bobby. You are that powerful voice and that influence they need. Some of us have a passion to help, but some of us are just little white girls that can back you but not make the same impact. You're not a little white girl.
That's all right. You are a powerful little white girl.
Carolyn is watching. Lala just texted Regina in. I hope Calvin comes in. And then my mom says that's because the system uses us as animals and we don't count in society. We don't stop living this Jim Crow life. We'll always lose. So and so think about that when you're because we push those things, and that was in '89 when it was just 3 stations, Channel 7, ABC, that information was broadcasted like that. Now think about social media. Yes. Think about the power and the speed of social media. So again, I want us to be mindful of those things when we see a headline and we want to get in there, kill them, put them on. And I see. Crazy part, I see it happen here in Brunswick. When the Brunswick News puts the article up, people jump in there so quickly, and these are our boys, our girls. All these comments that come in on the Brunswick News in this little area before the person has even been convicted of a crime. There was this probably is a sore spot, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there. I don't know the race of the people that were in this situation, so this is not about race. Just perception. There was a very serious accident on St. Simon's, and the Brunswick News reporter said it was likely that there was alcohol. There had been no toxicology report yet. They said it was likely due to alcohol. So who the people? So from the first comment about the 5th comment in, we got drunk drivers. We got, I'm glad the drunk drivers died this time instead of the innocent. So the whole perception changed from my condolences to the family to good, drunk drivers should have died. There was no toxicology report yet. Now, I don't know the outcome of yet. It may have been, but I'm just saying, why was that sentence? It was likely if you don't have the actual information. And then how the whole conversation shifted, and it was very harsh. And so we got to think about that, how that can influence even in this little town. So think about these national cases where you got thousands upon thousands of people coming in saying these harsh things before there's even a conviction.
Right. And we will herald the Constitution, but we don't really believe the Constitution. We don't believe that everyone is due the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We don't really believe that. We believe that you have to earn that. If you're not born here,
you gotta buy it.
You gotta buy it, or you can easily lose that right. But the beauty of how it's written is you should never lose that right, even in the adjudication process, even in the conviction. When you go to prison, there's this dehumanization of people that are convicted of crime that says they are no longer due right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. People get mad because they are allowed to get an education while they're in prison. Right. But yet we complain about how much we pay for prison populations. Well, when our recidivism rate is at 60%, when 60% of the people that come out go back in eventually, most of which within 5 years. If we just extend that right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness to all people, regardless of their stature, then whether a crime has just been committed, or you believe it's been committed, or they're just getting fresh out of prison. Right. If we extend that to all people and maintain dignity for all people, we'll have a better system.
And the crazy part is there are pilot programs and I don't want to call them radical programs, I can't think of a better term, but pilot programs in prison population that are different from and they separate the population. They do different things, education, made different different things, and those programs work, and we know 100%. They work. We know they work, but yet we still keep this other model. That's just a few people who have to kind of I don't want to say petition and get in those populations. And those systems work. They work wonderfully. But we don't make that as part of our whole system. Overall. Yeah. So we know the good to do. Right. We choose not to do it.
People are willing to believe that we have the best system in the world when we don't. Because of American exceptionalism. But I challenge people to research restorative justice. Research it. and see how
I did a whole paper on that.
Works.
I did, yes. And especially if you start young, but restore. Yeah, I did a whole research paper on that, and it just blew my mind. I'm like, why don't we do this? Like when I read about the different places where they have instituted that, and it's community wide, so it brings in the community, it brings in the victim, and it brings in the alleged perpetrator. So everybody's working together to put this person back into the community, society whole. And to also rectify whatever happened that brought them in. So the victim is getting what they need. The community is getting the safety it needs. And the perpetrator is getting the help that he or she needs. I was like, this is amazing. But yet we don't do it. I want to get these comments in. And then I want Brother Bobby to give us our final words. We got Maurice Johnson. And hey, Maurice, this is my bro. Social media is like a gun. It makes people feel more important than they really are. He's so silly. And a lot of people use the internet to fire bullets. He right about that. John is coming in. I love John's posts. They always so informative. Lala said there was a case where a father beat a 1-year-old toddler and people started attacking the mom on her choice of men. The comments were not relevant to the situation. You are absolutely correct. We need to be mindful. We just everybody burn them all at the stake. We're like witch hunters. Right. You want to get the comments from Brittany? Can you see them?
Yep, exactly. Got to be careful what you put out. Could be your loved one next. And
right.
I just said that. Lala Gazelle says we need to level up on protect mode and dial it back on prosecution mode. Love that.
Good.
Love
T-shirt.
that.
T-shirt. Yeah. Good.
Speaking of T-shirts, this one here.
Freedom requires action.
Part of one of the things that I push is organizations. This is from Action St. Louis. Action St. Louis was part of the grassroots movement that got their new prosecutor in place. Okay. And it's helping to change. We see the powder keg that was Ferguson and how it birthed out the Black Lives Matter movement and everything revolving around that. Well, they've taken that and used it to strategically change their criminal justice system.
Wow. Yeah.
One of the things that we have to do is understand our local prosecutor and the power that they have. So
you talk about that a lot, even the way they sentence, the terminology or the sentences they use make a difference on conviction or not.
Yes. So understanding at the local level, we see national news, but a lot of this stuff is happening, and you have the power to change it. You got to understand. Just this week, Prosecutor Ogg in Houston, in Harris County, she ran on a reform ticket. She ran on reducing bail and not punishing people for being poor. Well, a woman commits a crime. She steals like $50 worth of stuff. Her name is Deborah Lyons. She goes to jail. They post her bail at $1,500. She's stealing $50 worth of stuff, but you post her bail at $1,500.
Right.
She don't have it. Within the 2 weeks that she was in there, she committed suicide because she was being held on $1,500 bail. So we got to be able to hold people accountable at the local level, and that's where our reform starts. Our reform starts locally. It doesn't start nationally, and it starts with supporting all of these other organizations, because when you see it materialize in St. Louis with them changing, and all of the new judges that were elected in Houston, we see what's happening with the new state attorney general in New York, and all across the country. I challenge you guys to learn about these new things, because they become your model for how you do things locally. They become the information source that you need in order to push change locally. We're right here in Glenn County. We got to know who our local prosecutor is. Ms. Johnson has done a decent job with how she adjudicates cases. A decent job, but not a great job. Holding her accountable makes her do her job better.
Wow.
That's good.
And I went straight zone. Like, I was thinking about that. Like, how do we really get involved? Because I don't want to be on I don't want to be on the reactive end of everything. Oh, I'm so sad. Oh, I can't believe it. I don't want to
T-shirts and banners and visuals.
I want to be out here because I don't want to have to rally the community for my boys. Right. I want to be able to be out here on the forefront. So that it don't touch my voice, and I can help somebody else who's already been touched by it. So yeah, we have to definitely be proud. I think about, you said $50 worth of stuff, Khalif, a book bag. We don't even know what was in the book bag. Mm-hmm. A book bag, no weapon, no guns, not a gun, a book bag, a dang on probably $30 book bag, and he spent 3 years in prison, and over a book, and so we want to be proactive, and and we have enough people out here. I don't care what your title is, Brother Bob. I went to school for social work for all my life. Brother Bobby he's
I'm working off this high school education.
Right. I'm not even talking about the education part. I'm talking about, I'm a social worker. He's an electrician, but he's an advocate. So it don't matter what you do, we all can be advocates. Absolutely. You know, I'm out here doing it in some respect, but you don't have to have a social worker, counselor, attorney title to do this stuff. Yeah. You know, be out here and be an advocate for people. We need advocates. Right. They need advocates. Bless the Lord. Any other words you want? I know I said final words and I said something else. Anything else you want to say? And like I said, look on our page. We have a Brother Bobby had them on his page, so I shared it to our page. Go Please and share. like, tag. So they need to see. They should see an influx of new supporters because of shows like this. Yes,
you use your social media capital. That share is social media capital. Mm-hmm. Use it. Use it, because that's a part of how we get the word out. That's a part of how we grow in the reforms, sentencing reform, prison reform, criminal justice reform, bail reform. There's a lot of things that are we got to stop saying that the system is broken. It's working the way it's designed. Right. There's a lot of things about the system that needs to be changed. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So doing what we can, stop sharing so many videos of people that'll make you laugh. Mm-hmm. Start sharing information with things that'll help change lives. Mm-hmm.
I want to get these last two comments. John C. Richards writes, I work in GC's prosecutor's office after law. I worked in GC's prosecutor's office after law school. Justice isn't blind, it sees in black and white. Agree with my brother. Gotta hold elected DA accountable. Wow. Good. And Debbie Payne writes, breaks my heart, or Angel Hicks Tatum. Oh, I'm saying my whole name. We must be proactive for the future of our boys. Yeah. And you definitely are proactive, Debbie. And I'm praying with you and believing God for you and your family. You are amazing parents. Kiara just came in. Look, guys, we're going to finish the show on this note. We're so grateful to have, but every time Brother Bobby come in, we know it's a Stone Cold show. You know, we already know that.
Like official.
Yeah, and I always walk away like, dang it, I got to come up. I got to level up. He always put the level up in my spirit. So I'm rolling with that, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the level. Angela, I want to get her comment. Oh, gosh, Angela. Okay. We need to learn to humanize things. How would we feel if it was you or your loved one in that situation? If you made a mistake or a poor choice and now you were on trial for it, what rights would you want? If you had a son that got drunk and did unspeakable things, how would you want that to play out? If you were a police officer that wasn't sure if you would come home at the end of your shift each day, what would you like to see happen? If your neighbor is a different race than you and was violated, what would you like the outcome to be? And how could you support them? Grace and understanding go out the window when our emotions and attack mentality come out, and that needs to end. Love like Christ. See things how he does. It makes change come.
Come on, Angela. Okay. That was the message for today.
Praise God. I love it. So guys, go ahead and like and share this. Get it out. We want people to be impacted. I pray for this show, and I really want people to be impacted. And not only that, I wanted to push us, and myself included, into being more proactive. Again, I want to give Albert N. Wilson. Look him up. Let's see what we can do, who we can write to start. I don't want his name to just fall in the crack, and then 6 years later we're hearing about the story of him doing something else or hurting himself or something else crazy. We want to get this young man out. We want to give him a fair sentence, you know. Right. So Albert N. Wilson, look him up, please, and let's start rallying around this young man. Let's do some social media awareness. Don't let his name just fade away and he had to serve that whole 12 years or even remotely close to that 12 years. So I want us to look him up and start being proactive and find out who, and I'll help rally us, because that's on my heart. I want to see this guy stay in the news and us continue to build awareness around him. Centoria Brown served several years before the awareness, like, wait a minute, she's still in jail?
Right.
It was a grandmother who was still in jail for a drug offense. and she served what 40 something. She served a crazy amount of years, and she just got out because people like, wait, what? She's still in jail? So we have the power in that, in rallying together. Hey, Jessica, and congratulations, Jessica. Okay, all right, guys. We love you so much, and we hope you have an awesome and amazing Sunday. Again, like and share, and we would be remiss if we didn't say, if you didn't know Christ, if you don't know Christ, get in our inbox. It starts there. That relationship with Him is paramount to anything that we ever say. So we would definitely walk you through the stages of coming to know Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior. Absolutely. We love you so much. Have an awesome Sunday.
Happy Sunday.